Hi everyone. Let's talk about the trail arm and how it works in the backswing. I teach a lot of students day in and day out at my golf school. I also do a lot of online instruction, and I see people really struggle with their trail arm position that leads to a bunch of other swing faults, and I want to address that here today. I want to give you a better understanding of what should it do and how does it help me in my golf swing. Now, one thing that I always like to tell students or help them realize that Homer Kelly in The Golfing Machine, he talked about the trail arm folding and extending, and that being the #1 power accumulator in the golf swing. So that tells you right there how important it is for distance, but also for consistency of strike and shot shaping and all sorts of things. So it's very important, and I want to discuss it more with you. Before we get into that and do this deeper dive into the trail arm and how it works in the backswing, please like this video. Also, subscribe to my channel. We're going to be doing these videos each week, and most important, please comment on the video. What did you like? What would you like to see? What other videos can I produce that'll be helpful to you so you can watch, learn, and play better? So first thing I want to do is I want to define what is trail arm, what is lead arm, because those might be new terms to some newer golfers that are watching this video. And as I was growing up, I grew up a left-handed golfer, as you can see my left-handed club here, and I would get group instruction, say in a junior clinic, and it'd be a right-handed instructor, and they'd be doing everything right-handed, and I'd have to switch it around, and they'd be talking about the right arm, and I'd say, okay, well, for me, that's the left arm. I don't want you to have to do that here if you're left or right-handed, whatever the case may be. I just want to do my best, and I might mess up as we go along, but do my best to talk about trail arm and not right arm or left arm. So again, let's define what that is. For a right-handed golfer, let's do that first. My trail arm would be the arm furthest away from the target. So for a right-handed golfer, the trail arm is going to be the right arm. And that's what we're talking about in this video. For a left-handed golfer, now shooting this direction, and this is the way I would be playing if I were playing right now, lead arm would be the right arm closest to the target. Trail arm would be the left arm furthest away from the target. So trail arm for a lefty, if you're a lefty out there like me, is going to be the left arm. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about is we see golfers with successful golfers, Hall of Fame golfers with all sorts of, I'll do it left-handed, all different sorts of trail arm positions. And what I'm going to talk about here today, or what I'm going to teach you, is certainly my preference of the trail arm. You can find great golfers, Jack Nicklaus, Fred Couples, that don't necessarily have the trail arm in the position that we're going to discuss today. But if I was to build or mold a golfer, this would be the position. When we see what we look at as classic, or if, for lack of a better way of saying it, pretty swings, Adam Scott, Louis Oosthuizen, and so on and so forth. Those are the positions that I'm referring to. When we see somebody like Jack Nicklaus, Fred Couples, they have other matchups or they have other workarounds that they're doing in their swing that allow that to work. Now, I teach in Naples, Florida. I have a retired demographic. I have people that come to me that have had shoulder surgery, rotator cuff surgery. They have very limited range of motion in their trail shoulder, which is going to change what this trail arm can do. And in that case, I'm finding a workaround that I can get them based on their movement pattern to hit it as solid as possible and shoot the lowest scores that they can possibly shoot. What I want to get into next is let's talk about how the trail arm works. And before we do that, let me back up a second. One little test you can give yourself is if you get into your golf posture, and if we just take our trail arm and we just raise it, if I start to see, you can probably see with me, I don't have great range of motion when it comes here. My thoracic spine is very tight. But as that elbow goes back, or that trail arm goes back, you can see I've got pretty good range of motion. I wouldn't say I have great. I'm not the best out there, but I have decent range of motion. And again, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, I have students come to me that have very limited range of motion. So I've had people come to me that can't lift their arm any further than this because of shoulder injuries, shoulder surgeries, rotator cuff, like I mentioned. And again, we'll find a workaround. We'll find a way to make that work. But just test yourself before we even get into this video any further and just see, what kind of range of motion do I have in that trail arm. If you're a righty, you're going to be doing it more this way. Just get that arm in a 90-degree angle, as you can see here, and I'm just going to raise it as far as I can. And if I see a lot of buckling of the shoulders, or a lot of straining to get there, there's going to be some mobility issue in there. And so your ability to get into this, I hate to use this word, but quote-unquote perfect trail arm position, we might have to find a workaround. Or when you get on the range and you shoot your video of yourself and you're practicing and you look at your trail arm position and you're like, I really don't like that, give yourself that little test. Okay, well, I'm seeing my right arm do that because of this mobility issue that I have. All right, so let's get into how should it work. Let's get into the nuts and bolts here. And if it's not working the right way, again, you get on the range, you shoot some video of yourself, which I see people doing it all the time now that we have these cameras on our phones, and it's much easier to do, and we have all this online instruction. We can really research. And so you get on the range and you shoot this video, and you don't like your right arm position. You've got decent flexibility and mobility in that shoulder. So, okay, what's going on here? How can I fix it? What can I do? And then I'll give you a few drills that will help you along as well. All right, so first thing I like to see when it comes to the trail arm, I'm going to do this one-handed as I mentioned earlier, is I like to see, as we take it away, there needs to be a little room as the trail arm off the body. I see a lot of people start their golf swing where they keep it very close to their side, really right against their side. And I'll show you what that leads to in just a moment, because there's really two swing faults we see with that trail arm. But before we get to that, in the takeaway, again, I see this trail arm really hugging the side of their body. And so, as I said, it leads to a swing fault. But people who put gloves under their arms, either one, head covers, towel around their chest, that's going to lead to the first swing fault I'm going to talk about, and that's tucking of the trail arm. So tucking of the trail arm, just think of, I had a lawnmower here, and I'm going to grab the cord, and I'm going to go ahead and start that lawnmower. So you see how this trail arm is kind of working back and behind me. I see that in the golf swing. I see people, as they take the club back, the arm kind of gets behind. You could probably think of some people that you've played golf with that you've seen this, or you've seen it on the driving range. But that trail arm is really tucked behind me. And so from here, I'm going to have to make some sort of compensation to get that club out in front of me. And I'll share a story with a guy that I'm teaching online right now through the Swing Index app, and how that's affecting him. Now, so that's tucking. And again, in my experience, that tucking really comes from that trail arm staying too close to the body. We should get that trail arm should come off the body just a little bit, create a little bit of room here in the backswing. So the next thing that I see is flying right elbow, made famous by Jack Nicklaus. Jack Nicklaus had a little bit of a flying trail elbow. And what that looks like, I think a better example, or I shouldn't say a better example, but one that's easier to see, probably a more exaggerated example, would be Fred Couples. So Fred Couples at the top of his backswing. And what I mean by flying is you can see how that trail arm is pointing really straight behind me. And so that's the flying trail arm. And again, I see that quite a bit. First thing we have to look at, what's the mobility of the shoulder? Or is it just they don't know how to use that trail arm properly? So let's talk about that next. What do I need to do to use the trail arm properly? And then we'll get into a few drills that can help you if it's not doing what it should be doing. So what I like to look for with the trail arm, or if I had I should say my preference of the trail arm, again, if I had just this clay golfer here that I can mold into whatever swing I want to see, what I would want to see is more of what we call a waiter position. And you've probably all heard this before. You can see the left arm is in a position, the trail arm is in a position as if I were carrying a tray as a waiter across a dining room. So you can see the elbows to the ground, and that trail arm is at a 90-degree angle. So again, given a preference, that is what I would like to see. Understanding not everybody has the mobility, capability to get there. Now, again, you go to the driving range, hey, my arm doesn't look like that. What are some things I can do to get it there? One drill that I like to do, we know that when it's tucked or when it's flying, that there's a lot of separation between the elbows at the top of the backswing. So when I'm working on this with students, what I'll have them do is I'll have them take the club to the top of the backswing with their elbows actually touching or together. Now this will be fun for those of you who have a lot of tension in their golf swing, or really tight, a lot of grip pressure. When I work with students and we start doing this and they're very tense or tight grip pressure, they're like, oh, I could never do that. I could never get my elbows that close. But take some deep breaths, relax a little bit, let the tension go out, and you'll find it's very easy to get those elbows together at the top of your golf swing. So that would be a good feeling to try and get. Again, another thing you could do is if you had a ball, some of those balls, you can put the Nerf balls with the arm cutouts in them. You could put that between your arms and feel that at the top of the backswing. All that would be very, very good to get this trail arm closer to where we want to see it in the backswing. Another drill that I like to see is I'll just take my lead hand and I'll actually put it behind here at address. I'll just put it right behind my trail elbow, and then I'll just take that arm to the top of the backswing, and you see how I'm using my lead hand to block that elbow from tucking or from flying. So again, just start at address position. I'm just going to put this lead arm right behind my elbow and go ahead and take it right to the top. And so that would give you, again, a very good feel for putting it in the right position, getting a better position, getting that trail arm in a better position in the backswing that we can use it more efficiently. And here's the last one. Again, very simple drill, more of a feel drill, is I want you to start with a golf club in your hand, trail arm only, and I'm just going to swing it. So you see I put my lead arm right behind my back here, and I'm just going to swing it to the top of the backswing. And I'm just going to hold that position, and what I'm searching for is really what I was feeling in the first two drills of that waiter position. And when I feel like, hey, you know, that looks good, that's about where I should be, I'm just going to bring my lead arm back and put my lead hand on the club, and there I am. There's a good position at the top of the backswing, and my right arm is working properly in my backswing. So again, with that one, and I like to choke down on the club. You can even use an alignment stick if clubs are too heavy for you, especially with a junior. You know, maybe have them do an alignment stick. The club might be too hard to have in one arm. But go ahead and grip down. You can see I'm below the grip here onto the shaft itself. And I'm just going to swing it to the top. I'm going to get this trail elbow to the ground. I'm going to get that nice waiter looking position here. And then I'm going to bring my lead hand back onto the grip, and there I go. There's my position. So I promised I would tell you about this golfer that I'm working with currently on the Swing Index app, where I do some remote coaching. And he's from Chicago. He's a lefty like me, and he probably an extreme case, and that's why I kind of bring it up here. He creates a lot of tucking on his backswing. So this trail arm gets behind him, but he's a good player and low handicap, and he has a really good dynamic move to the target. So he gets caught in this trail arm position being tucked, and so he starts his downswing with this really good dynamic move to the target, and he gets about halfway down, and literally this trail arm is behind him. It's on his hip. It's on the back of his hip, and so he hits behind it a lot. From here, his path is really out to the left. Remember, for a left-handed golfer, so he sees a lot of blocks. He sees overdraws. He sees hooks, and that comes from just that trail arm not working properly. So we've worked very intently on that trail arm, and it's really improved his game. He's starting to hit it straighter, longer, got rid of a lot of the shape that he saw, got rid of hitting behind it. Now, and some of you might say, okay, well, if I have that trail arm out of position, that's what I'm going to see. It's going to get pinned behind me, and I'm going to swing too much in to out, and I'm going to hit behind it, and I'm going to hit hooks and overdraws and blocks. That's not necessarily the case. I've been teaching long enough, and again, one thing I have going in my favor is volume. I've taught a ton of people over my life, and I've seen everything. I've seen people get it flying at the top and then come over the top. I've seen them tuck and come over the top. So there's not one specific swing fault that we're going to see you know, outcome of this swing fault that we're going to see. We could see a myriad of things come from this trail arm being out of position. But instead of going down that road and talking about all that stuff, let's just stay in the solution. And the solution is getting that trail arm in a better position, using those couple drills that I've shared with you here today. And remember, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, also subscribe to my channel. There's more videos coming. And then comment. Tell me what you liked about this video. Tell me what you didn't like. You know, disagree with me. You don't have to agree with what I had to say here. You might feel strongly a different way. And also, send me in some ideas of some videos that you'd like to see me shoot. I'm here for you. I want you to play better golf. So if you've enjoyed this video, there's a couple other videos up here right now that you can go ahead and watch, and they'll continue to help you improve your game. And I can't wait to see you next time.